Hello, everybody. It's Sandy again. We are here with John O'Connor today on this episode of Meet the Presenters for the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. And this is John A. O'Connor, a clinical hypnotist from West Cork. There is a difference, I'm told, a very significant difference. West Cork, not just Cork, but West Cork. And he's been doing this since 2005. So, John, hello there, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Andy. Great to be here.
Good man. So, John, a lot of us will know who you are, but for those who don't, please, if you wouldn't mind, enlighten us. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, I have a lifelong interest in hypnosis,
Mhm.
first introduced to it by Paul Golden when I was 7 years of age. That's 55 years ago. And I carried an interest in hypnosis and NLP and all things that I believed everybody knew about. Um, Moving very fast on, I worked as a lecturer in from the years 2000 to 2019 at third level in a university. And I became aware of the contagion that happens to students around their exam time.
Okay.
And then I got really interested in how I could help students using NLP and hypnosis to actually be the best they could be on any given day at any given time, and particularly during exams.
Okay.
And then I got to give hypnosis its ultimate test because one morning I woke up and I had a stroke.
Yeah.
And the medical consensus at the time was I would not walk or talk again, and that rather annoyed me. Um, so I put
That's good.
hypnosis to the ultimate test while in high dependency in St. James's Hospital in Dublin,
Hmm.
and I got my movement and my speech back with a vengeance. And not content with just succeeding that once, um, I went and had another stroke on New Year's Eve 2024.
Jeez.
Now, I knew what was happening this time. So I actually used hypnosis from the moment it happened. I was on my own. I made the call to the emergency services. I spoke to them in and out of what I would call verbal consciousness
Okay.
because my voice was coming and going. I had paralysis, but I kept the movement going. I spoke to them. I got the ambulance dispatched and I called for local help. And then I just relaxed and watched the world go mad around me.
God.
And I remember the journey in the ambulance, and the paramedic actually thought there was something seriously wrong with me. Well, there was. I had
Yeah.
had a stroke,
Yeah.
but I was actually keeping the blood flowing very dramatically. And their model is to keep you immobile. The model is actually keep as mobile as possible and to keep movement in the paralyzed side.
Hmm.
So I managed that all the way to the emergency room, where I continued to have a wonderful conversation in and out of verbal consciousness with the team that thrombolized me for the second time. And yes, hypnosis, I believe, is the ultimate and the only successful therapy for stroke survivors.
Yeah. And you've had two times experience of that.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that is the topic of my talk at the Irish Hypnosis Conference.
Okay. Okay.
And the wonderful thing about stroke survivors, we don't need to put them into trance. They're already there.
Yeah.
They're actually in an altered sense of consciousness. They are looking for the solutions. And I just might have a few of them.
Yes. So you and I have had conversations about this. And obviously you spoke a bit about this in Larne a couple of weeks ago at one of our meetups,
Mhm.
which is obviously part of the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference groups that we do. Um, and I will come back to your presentation in a moment, but using your hypnosis and hypnotherapy skills, and as a hypnotist, Before this happened to you, these two events in your life, these two strokes, you obviously had a knowledge base of hypnosis and how it works. But after what you've experienced, has your understanding and approach evolved since then, or is it the same and you just are more aware of how to use it for this particular type of incident? How has it evolved since you first learned your experience?
Well, it continually evolves. Um, because my first experience was actually stage hypnosis. My first exposure to hypnosis was stage.
Okay.
But this actually gives me an insight where it can be acutely used
Mhm.
to help in a brain acquired injury, of which a stroke actually is a brain acquired injury. But it also happened, I have also used it quite successfully with people who are in hospital and are afraid to leave the secure environment.
Yes.
I call our environment at the moment the sick cure
Yeah,
environment.
we get that.
We get sick, we want a cure. When we're in the ER or the hospital environment, we're very secure
Hmm.
and we're afraid to leave that and stand on our own 2 feet.
Hmm.
So hypnosis is brilliant at helping people to realize your life will be preserved in hospital, but your recovery happens out in the wide open world,
Yeah,
happens at home.
yeah, yeah.
And probably the greatest medicines we can use are laughter and love.
Hmm.
And if we sprinkle that or season that with hypnosis, we're definitely on the road to recovery.
Yeah, and just on a a personal note for one of the things you talked about, and this is probably part of your presentation, but you know, the most important thing when someone is going through this is touch. You know,
Absolutely.
holding a hand or just having that physical presence, because it's a very terrifying, scary thing, and also communication. Because the way you deliver things is brilliant, because obviously it's a very serious topic, but you had us in stitches because it was just the way that people would talk to you, like they would shout in your face, and you say your hearing goes very acutely increased. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's hard to measure, but you have the most acute hearing that you can hear multiple conversations at the same time.
Right.
And you can particularly hear the conversation that pertains to you.
Yeah.
So you know they're talking about me.
Mm.
And this isn't just a universal thing. This is something I've spoken to stroke survivors about, and they all agree. They can hear people talk about them, not even on the ward. They're outside in the corridor,
Mm.
and they can hear detail.
Yeah. It's like super spidey senses, almost superhuman increase. So if we were to surmise that and summarize that, sorry, into like, why should people come and listen to your presentation? If you were to condense that down into takeaways that people can have, what would you say is the takeaway from your presentation?
Well, everybody knows somebody who has been affected by stroke,
Yeah.
and there are no one survivor of stroke. There are whole families and communities affected by the stroke,
Hmm.
though there may be only one victim survivor. Many people are affected by the ripple. And a lot of people don't know how to actually communicate, how to just speak normally to a stroke survivor.
Hmm.
And if they only get that much from my talk, they can actually change their own lives, never mind the stroke survivor's life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an important one because you I'm trying to remember what you said, but you had me chuckling whenever you talked about it. It was about there's no such thing as a little stroke or something. What was it you said? You're not a little bit dead. It
Yes.
was something like that. That was funny. If you could explain that for us.
Well, if we can just use the analogy of golf, stroke play.
Yeah.
Like the stroke of the ball is the stroke of the ball. It's either too hard or too soft.
Hmm.
A stroke is a stroke. It's an attack on your brain matter, and it can leave a lasting effect. But with the right intervention and encouragement, you can actually recover that.
Yeah.
Most medical science will say the brain cannot recover from a brain injury. That is actually not true. And I'm living proof of
Yeah, you
that.
are. Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because you talk about, people being affected by it. Like my grandfather, he died of a stroke because he was on his own. He was what, 77, 78, something like that. And he lived on his own. And yeah, it was like, that's how long ago? Probably I was probably 11 or 12. I'm 45 now, but I still remember it. And I remember my mum telling me about how he had reached for the phone, but just there was nobody with him to get that. And maybe if he'd been able to, if I suppose what we're talking about maybe is, if you're in the situation where you have someone with you or someone you love who has a stroke, it's almost do the opposite of what the medical people tell you, is that kind of thing. Now, obviously you take medical advice, but they try and immobilize you, isn't that right? And
Well,
you were talking about even little finger movements keep everything going. Is that right?
well, the small finger movement I call the butterfly
Yes.
effect. And when I had my first stroke, I was actually in the emergency room when the stroke hit.
Right. Yes. I remember you
And
saying.
across at another bed were the stroke team, seven doctors, all specializing in stroke recovery. They responded to my emergency and they all saw a stroke for the first time.
Yeah.
So they knew the theory, but they had never actually watched somebody go through a stroke.
Yeah.
So they witnessed it for the first time. And the medical model is to actually keep them immobilized. And because we're fighting for our lives,
Yeah.
it's misinterpreted as aggression. It is aggression, but it's aggression to save your own life.
I get that.
And they medicate for that, which actually stymies any efforts to recover.
Yeah.
So the butterfly effect is if your left side, which is usually affected, if you can just get that much movement, you will recover your whole side.
Yeah.
And that is what I call the butterfly,
Yeah.
that movement.
And you talked about smiling, laughing, even if it was your eye, move your eye, all different things. It's keeping the movement of the affected side is key, isn't that right?
Absolutely. And also the synergy of using the side that works and
Hmm.
the side that doesn't.
Yes, you remember
When
you
you
saying.
lift one hand, you cannot lift a barbell with one hand.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I get
you
it.
have
I get
you,
it. Yeah.
you have to use two.
Yeah. No, I get it. And that's yeah. So it's I can personally say that, you give us a little insight there as to, what was potentially coming in the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, your presentation. And it was fascinating. And you are a born presenter. And it's you're so enjoyable to listen to and watch. And you're very knowledgeable. And I would encourage people to come and see you. What I would say and ask of you now, having given us an insight into what your presentation is going to be about, is what would you say to people who were maybe thinking about attending the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference? What would you say to them to sort of encourage them or give them that little just nugget that makes them go, I'm coming, Because we've been there since the very start. And it's, I know what I would say, but what would you say?
Well, as an Irishman, I'm really proud to say that our conference is as good and maybe in ways better than anything else available throughout the world. There is a genuine warm welcome.
Yes, there is.
There's great friendliness. You actually make friends very easily. There's an ambience and atmosphere present,
Yeah.
and which will be mentioned throughout. There's great crack.
Yeah.
And this is the legal form of crack. So crack in Ireland is fun.
Yes.
And many of our visitors and tourists will come looking for the crack.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
That's
It's
very true.
everywhere at our conference.
Yeah.
So I would encourage anyone who's even slightly curious to come and broaden their perspective on hypnosis.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Pardon me.
You okay? No problem.
Hmm.
Yeah. So no, I think we've said it all there. And I would just like to thank you, John, for your time. And also I would encourage everyone to come and see John A. O'Connor at the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. Thank you for your time, John. And
Thank you,
I
Andy.
really look forward to seeing you again in April next year.
Lovely. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Me
Thank you.
too. Me too. Good man. Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
No probs.